The head of the Chief Data Officers Council in the federal government's been at his post for about a year now. In that year, the council has laid the groundwork for the next 10 years of data management across government. Ted Kaouk is the Chief Data Officer of the Department of Agriculture and Chair of the Federal CDO Council. Ted, welcome. It's good to see you again. What do you think the biggest accomplishments are of the council in its first year?
Well, Francis, first, it's great to be with you. It's been a foundational year for the council. We really are focused on leading transformational change, and with the release of the federal data strategy, individual agencies were beginning to stand up their data governance boards, establishing the CDO role for the first time, supporting, assessing data and related infrastructure, and really identifying opportunities to increase staff skills. One of the major kind of accomplishments that the council worked on initially was supporting agency operations in the pandemic. And this was an opportunity for us to collaborate really for the first time in a new role. So working with HHS to share data, to create common decision-making tools that we then shared across agencies was one really important opportunity that we seized upon to begin to build our capacity and our collaboration. We're also working to collaborate with our other evidence councils and establishing working groups on data sharing, data inventorying, and data skills. So, for example, we just released a list of 10 data skills programs that are in place across agencies. For example, HHS CoLab, where they have a cohort-based data science training program, as well as the Air Force's data governance certification pilots. We're using those case studies to build our thinking about what the needs are. We're also releasing a survey this week that talks about the CDO profession and its current state, organizational reporting grades and areas of responsibility. And we've also got a couple of innovative projects underway where we're working on public common analysis automation using the latest in natural language processing techniques. And we're going to be using that to think about how we could scale some of those automation opportunities across agencies. So really, really good collaboration in the first few months here.
The case studies that you talked about, I think, are interesting. How will you evaluate those case studies to determine which ones of them are working the best and which ones of them you want to try to scale?
Well, I think first, one of the things that we set as a foundational kind of collaboration point was that we know that there's good work that's going on in agencies, and we want to use that to accelerate our efforts. So the case studies themselves help us to monitor and to continue to have conversation about what's working and what areas are still kind of gaps for agencies. But they also invite conversations where agencies can learn from others. So I don't think we have one in particular that we're looking at, but I think there are a number of areas, whether that's analytics or governance or data science, where agencies are leading and other agencies have an opportunity to learn from them in the various aspects of our data work. So just look forward to continuing to monitor that and make improvements. I think also we're focused on closing the gap with our skill sets. We worked with the U.S. Digital Service to create the first federal-wide data science hiring action, which was something that we launched we had 60 opportunities across agencies that folks could apply for, and I'm really excited about a lot of the candidates that came in and how that's going to help to support agency mission.
You talked about how you stood all of this up in the middle of the pandemic. Has the pandemic accelerated any of the things that the CDO Council wanted to do? Has it accelerated any of the elements of the federal data strategy for any reason? We're seeing stories all across government of people that are having to just do things a lot faster than they thought they would because of the differences in the way work gets done as a result of the pandemic. Has any of that affected the plan or the strategy that you and your colleagues are working on, Ted?
I think so. I think that the demand for quality data, for actionable data, for decision support tools, one, for the council, again, provided us an opportunity to work across agency lines. It created the demand for that. And so I think that provided a good forcing function for us to do that kind of work. At USDA, certainly those decision support tools were in high demand, and questions around standardization, on data sharing, and some of the challenges in our infrastructure, I think, were revealed as part of those lessons learned. So one of the projects we have ongoing this year is looking at how we share decision support across agencies. We have a federal-wide HR dashboard project we're working on, which is, again, looking at opportunities for us to share more broadly whether that's within HR for kind of ongoing operations, or in those use cases as during the pandemic, where you have an emerging need for agencies to have consistent data. So I do think it was definitely an accelerant.
In addition to the work that you're doing leading the CDO Council, you have your day job as the CDO at USDA. How are some of these things hitting? How are some of these things falling inside USDA? What's the landscape look like as far as driving the goals of the Evidence Act and so on throughout your organization?
I think one thing to kind of point to at the federal level, and it's obviously translating to USDA, is the Biden-Harris administration and their focus on 4 overlapping crises: again, the pandemic, economic recovery, climate change, and equity. So if you look at the executive orders that were published over the last several months, many of them are unified by a call for better data management practices, skills, infrastructure, whether that is advancing racial equity. They've established a federal equitable data working group that's going to provide recommendations on inadequacies in federal data collection activities. So we have a lot of collaboration, both with USDA agencies and other agencies like Census, looking at some of our challenges in the rural data. We're also building upon the work that we've done over the past several years to stand up enterprise analytics services across the department. We've talked about the dashboards many times in terms of the speed to insight and the questions that we're able to answer. But the collaboration now on a broader effort with data science tools, allowing collaboration and analysis of things with a growing skill set and staff that are able to collaborate on questions that cross agency borders. So this goes beyond the 10,000 leaders that have access to those dashboards. Now we're looking at the underlying infrastructure and how we build toward a common platform. So more to come on that.
Ted, we have about 30 seconds left. That data sharing that you're talking about will require better sharing among agencies, between agencies, not just within your agency. Is that getting better?
I think we have a lot of work to do. Certainly what has happened is many of the questions that are arising force us to think across agency lines in ways that I think are slightly new. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's happened for many years, but the CDO Council and our collaboration with our partners on the evidence councils, evaluation officers, statistical officials, has really broadened and helped us to coordinate these efforts, and really helped us to think about how we're going to implement this broader evidence system over the next several years. So I do think it's been an accelerant, and we're looking forward to what happens this year.
Ted Kaouk, thanks very much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thanks as always, Francis.